This right here is the source of where all the water comes from. All right, greetings from Tiny Industrial. I'm here at the tiny house. The sun just came out like magic. I'm going to talk about artesian wells today. What the hell is an artesian well, you say? Well, that's what I was wondering too for a while, but it's actually a fantastic way for me to get water into the tiny house. Since there's no municipal water here, I don't have a well on the property, like an actual drilled well, but I have an artesian well. So let me walk you through that and show you how I harness the power of Mother Nature to provide this house with water. All right, so my tiny house is right here, but where I get my water from is up on that hill over there. There's an artesian well up on this hill, and I'm gonna take you over there and show you exactly how the water gets from there to my tiny house right here. It's freaking amazing. It just comes up out of the ground, it never stops. By the way, if all this so far is clear as mud to you, stick around to the end of the video because I'll actually draw this out on a piece of paper and how this whole setup works. We're re-entering my property now from the other side, and I'll explain to you what's going on over here. All right, so a dead giveaway over here that something is different is the fact that you have snow everywhere except here. And the reason is that there's water coming up out of the ground here, which constantly serves to melt the overlying snow. This right here is the source of where all the water comes from. It comes up out of the ground into this little spring, and it's very hard to see, but right over here, you can see right there, there's a pipe, and it basically originates right back there. Now I wanted to get this pipe as close to where the water comes out of the ground. As you can see, it's just coming right out. And that is where the water enters the pipe. It's kind of partially buried. It's under these rocks. You can see it poking out there again. But it's capturing that pristine, clean water. This hut, by the way, was an old well house. But you see the overflow basically going down the hill right there. And then what happens? Well, it's all gravity fed. And you see the pipe coming out of the ground right there. We started up there. Pipe comes down this way. It goes into these 55-gallon barrels under this tarp. Not very exciting, but you get the idea. It flows into these barrels, and you see the exit point right there. So I have two barrels here. One supplies my neighbor with drinking water, and the other one supplies me. So this first barrel is mine, exits barrel number 1, and enters the top of barrel number 2. Now barrel number 2 is overflowing, and there you see an exit point on the bottom of that barrel. And we follow it along. There you see the tiny house, and it just flows down this pipe right across to the house. And you see where that ice sculpture is down there? That is the current exit point right there. I have a sprinkler set up down there because although I'm not using water in the house currently, I don't in the winter because it's just too hard to maintain and keep it from freezing. I do want the water system to continue to flow. The reason for that is I don't want the pipe to freeze. I don't want the pipe to break. So we just keep water flowing through it constantly. Moving water does not freeze. We have this fairly primitive setup here basically, but it works. So up there, water bubbles out of the ground. First set of barrels, second barrel, and boom, across the valley it goes. Right down there to the house. You can see how much water is actually coming up out of the ground here. Look at that. It just goes down this way. And again, no snow right there because you have so much water coming down this way. But there's the beautiful tiny house. There's the pipe running over and it terminates at that tree and then it snakes its way around. The fact that the house is lower than the source of the water is fantastic because it just makes it so much easier to capture the water and to have it build up pressure. No need for pumps or anything complicated. It's just all gravity fed. And when it gets to the house, I actually really need to do nothing and it just comes out of the pipes. I do have a pump set up. I do have a pressure tank set up in the house. All right, so let me go back to the other side of the valley there and then show you what happens once it gets over there. Back on the tiny house side, let me show you how the water gets into the house. Pretty standard. Right there, it just takes a standard garden hose connection. And I use this piece of hose that you see lying down here. Again, it's winter and I'm not running the water in the house currently. I could heat the house all winter. In theory, I could have a flush toilet in this house, but I don't. I actually have an Incinerator toilet, and I'm put a link up here to a video about that. I have electricity, I have water, but I have neither a well nor a septic system. So the Incinerator takes care of the toilet aspect. The water, well, then basically I'm just producing gray water, which I use to water the plants, or currently make this nifty ice sculpture. Ooh, this has been building up for a while now. I have a sprinkler, like I said, kind of lurking behind here, and we've got hundreds of pounds of ice, which is like turning a lovely blue. Up there, you can see where we just were. You see the water coming over the edge right there, and that is clearly higher up than we currently are. There's the pipe coming across, and then right now I just have it sort of snaking around here, but it terminates here, and here's a shutoff on there. And then what I do is I go into the splitter. So this is just a standard garden hose that comes out of here, which leads currently to the sprinkler. And this has nothing on it, but what this would do is this is the part that connects into the house itself when the house is hooked up to water. So then what I do is I throttle back this side a little bit to maintain the pressure on here. And then anytime I open a tap in the house, water travels through here. Now, why do I do that? I still want to keep the water running even in the summer, because if you let the water stagnate in the pipe, you're going to get algae buildup and weird things are going to happen in that pipe. You don't want that. You don't want that water to be in constant motion, winter, summer alike. And therefore, I just use a short piece of tubing that connects from here. That's how the water gets into the house. And so if this has been helpful, great. Let me know in the comments what you liked about it, what you were surprised about. I am also, like I said, going to draw this out. So let me do that right now. Ooh, look at that ice, looks so beautiful in the sun. Woo-wee. All right, here we go. Here's the tiny house. Here's the artesian well. Water bubbles up out of the ground into the little well. That's the valley across from the house, the stream. Water goes into pipe 1, goes into barrel 1, barrel 2. Water goes gravity fed across the valley. There's a constant flow. That's that little bushy thing. That's the sprinkler. And then there's a diverter where it splits. It either goes into the house or it diverts. Got to keep the water flowing, as I said. Once it's in the house, there's a water pump that feeds a pressure chamber, which feeds the rest of the house. So I don't have to worry about it once it gets into the house. That line that I just drew there towards the bottom is my neighbor's water feed. And the fortunate thing is gravity. Gravity makes this all possible. Incidentally, as a side note, if there is too much gray water produced for whatever reason, I can load it into this tank. I have a 300-gallon tank in the ground right here. No septic, I just have electricity, and I have the artesian well. The electric also runs the amazing Incinerator. Check out that video. And thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Hit subscribe if you like this, and see you next time. Chris signing out. Peace.